There has been a great deal of discussion recently on the internet regarding the recent discovery of a new celestial object within our solar system, and this object is reported to be very close to the Earth and the Sun at this present time, and in the next few months it should reach an optimum point in terms of its closest approach to both bodies. Now currently, scientists who study the Earth have found that the Earth itself is undergoing severe changes to its magnetic field and also its climate. But not only that, other bodies within our solar system have also been found to be undergoing the same sorts of changes. And as a result of this, certain people have put forward the theory that this intruder body, if you will, is being responsible for causing these changes directly as a result of its passage within our solar system. Now in light of this, there has been a great resurgence of interest in the theories of Zecharia Sitchin, as first put forward in the 1970s regarding the so-called 12th planet called Nibiru. Now in his work, Sitchin examined the cuneiform texts of the Babylonians and Sumerians and identified what he believed to be a highly eccentric cometary type orbit for a large mass body on an orbital period of some 3,600 years in orbit around our Sun, and that this body periodically entered our solar system and caused devastation to the Earth itself and other bodies that it came close to in passing. Now, there are certain variations on the Sitchin theme in this regard. Some people have put forward the view that rather than Nibiru being a planet directly in orbit around our Sun in a 3,600-year orbit, that Nibiru is in orbit around its own star, and that this star is essentially a companion star to our Sun, and that it is a part of a binary system, if you will, and thus it is the star which has the 3,600-year orbit. Now, with regards to this, there is a recent photo which has seemingly come to light, being leaked, if you will, according to certain sources, from the South Polar Telescope, and this particular photograph seems to identify an actual system, and that this intruder body is in fact a system and not just one singular body. One can see from the photo as presented what this system looks like.
Let's take a quick look at this one.
Now one can see from the central object that it is red in its colour. Now some people believe that this photograph is in fact taken from the infrared spectrum and that it is simply a highlighting of this particular colour. But under normal conditions the object itself is a dark star or a brown dwarf star, and thus it is invisible to the naked eye. And this explains why it is certainly not on view within our solar system in any obvious way. Now the photograph itself shows also a number of satellites around it. Now some believe that they are moons and others planets. In fact, the whole size of the system is very much up for grabs, and many people speculate about it. Now the system itself, though, in terms of this photograph, I do believe it to be authentic, and I have seen other people.
What I think looks like a fleet of ships right here. I mean, that almost looks like a Star Destroyer of some sort right there. Now, when I looked back at this picture right here, and I said that there's that fishy thing there, there's actually definitely two. I tore it apart. Oops. I did tear it apart. We can see that there was two distinct objects there. Now, when we look at it here, there it is right there. It's a distinct object. But now I want to show you what I'm talking about. As we roll up in here, you can see that that's that thing that I was talking about yesterday on my vlog. It looks like the fishy thing, and everybody thought it was a speck on my camera, but that's exactly what it is, and it's showing up at Davis Station. I mean, look at that. Let's see here. Here's a darker view of it. You definitely roll up in it, and you can tell that it's the same exact thing that I've been looking at. You all thought it was a speck on my camera, guys. It's showing up on Davis Station. So Davis Station has a speck on their camera too, and it rolls with it. So I'm wondering, just a thought, is that could possibly these be kind of what the ships look like, or the satellite ships. Now this was that shot on Davis Station with the tetrahedral lens flare. You know, it kind of shocks me. So anyways, we're going to go into some footage here of the moon. I took a photo of the moon, or some video of the moon tonight. We're going to kind of tear apart what's next to the moon, and some interesting images today with the star that I've been tracking as well. We'll take a look at it here. Hang on. Now, I did take some close-up shots of this, and I saw something actually weird as I was looking over this. This little area here, this looks like a ship of some sort. But guys, this is undeniable. Look at this right here. I mean, that is the fish thing that I'm showing up, that was showing up on my, everybody's saying that's a speck on my camera. We should go back and re-look at that footage and compare it to that. It's the same fishy thing. That's not a speck on my camera. That's the thing that was by the moon, and also by the star that I've been taking. So whatever this is, it looks just like that. You've seen it on my other vlogs. Now this is weird, this particular thing right here. Now could this be a bell right here? See how that kind of, or is this how it's shaped as a ship? Now I've got some very interesting photographs. I'm going to pull this one in real close. That gives a little bit closer look at it. Definitely looks like it could be a ship of some sort. And that is the original footage of it as well. Let's go down to nothing really much happening over at Miramar Station, but let's go back and take a look at the other Antarctic divisions and see if anything special is going on there. We'll be right back. Alright guys, down at Casey Station here, and I just saw something really wild. Okay, this is what's coming over Casey Station. What the heck is this, guys, right here? I'm going to back it up a little bit, and we're going to try and do a frame by frame of it. September 3rd, 11:39. Watch it as it comes over. Here we go. Right there. See it? Did you see that? There we go. Cloud cover. What the heck is that right there? Quite baffled by it. We're going to go into the next segment here. I'm going to talk a little bit in regards to some of the photos I took of something that was near the moon this evening. But this is the star I've been tracking out of the southeast, or out of the southeast, yeah, out of the northeast, and it's getting weirder and weirder and weirder as it goes. So I will close out here, and we'll take a look at some of the photos that I took earlier. Alright, so here's a shot of it. Right up next to the moon.
You should tell them we saw them around 3. The moon?
Oh yeah, we saw the moon around 3 o'clock, and it was not flipped like this. It was flipped differently too. I wish we would have got a shot of that. Oh, I saw the there's a whole bunch of twinkling next to the moon. Check it out.
I'm not even couple. Oh my god, on a line too. Look, they're like a formation. Yeah?
There's one way off to the left, and then there's
one right there next to it, and then
there's one actually right next to the moon too.
Alright, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I see 5. But what's that one that's right there, right next to the moon?
Yeah, the one that's right here that I'm filming. The one you can barely see. Alright, so I'm now recording it through the other side here. And it's I can't even look straight, and you don't see that blinking thing. You only see it through the binoculars. It's kind of crazy.
Capture this same system with other photographs, so there is in fact certain cross comparisons that one can have between this system and this photograph and those obtained by others. It does appear to be a real system and not a hoax. And so the question becomes essentially, where did this system come from? How did it enter into our solar system? Now ironically, when one examines the theories of Zecharia Sitchin, the answer can be found, but the answer is found with the acceptance that his theories are essentially completely in error. I have studied very carefully the work of Zecharia Sitchin, especially his book The 12th Planet, and he focuses in large part upon the creation of the asteroid belt and also a period as described by the ancients in their texts as being when all of the planets within our solar system suffered some sort of general agitation. Now Sitchin puts forward the theory of a large mass intruder body as being responsible for both things, for causing the asteroid belt to be created due to a collision between an unknown object between Jupiter and Mars, and also that this same intruder body gravitationally perturbs the orbits of the bodies already within our solar system. His hypothesis of Nibiru, therefore, is put forward to explain these two features as detailed in the texts of the ancients. Now, in studying his work, I found that the mechanism of an intruder body, as he puts forward, is in fact not the best solution to this particular problem. There is a far more elegant mechanism, also described by the ancients, and that goes by the name of the music of the spheres. I found that the music of the spheres as a mechanism, as a high science, not just symbolic, but a real physical mechanism of our solar system, explains how you can get a general agitation of all the bodies within, and also how this mechanism appears to have caused the creation of the asteroid belt. Ironically, it would seem that the falsification of Sitchin's theory of Nibiru gives us the answer to what this strange new system is and how it came to be within our solar system. This particular red-shaped object and its companion bodies would appear to be a system that has been identified in myth, that there are creation stories regarding it, and they explain and account for how it came into being and was established within our own solar system. The falsification of Sitchin himself on the point of Nibiru gives us the solution to where this strangely discovered new system came from.
Here is that particular object next to the moon. But guys, what the heck is this down here? And look at this weird look to the moon. It's very jaggedy. It almost looks like it's coming out of some sort of time hole or something like that. Very interesting indeed. And then we'll just take a look at some of the pictures here that I took. This is what that thing next to the moon turned out to look like. Now guys, I took this shot. This shot is very interesting indeed. We're going to talk about this, but look at this. This looks like a fish. These look like fishes. These showed up on a shot, on a specific shot that I took, but this one ears me out right there. Looks like a face and a fish. There it is again. This was what was next to the moon. Next to the moon. This was the moon itself. This was something behind the moon, and this was the moon, and then something up here, and then of course that piece that was separated from the moon.
In the presentation that follows, I will begin with an evaluation of the theories of Zecharia Sitchin, primarily in terms of the creation of the asteroid belt and also the general agitation of the celestial bodies as occurred in a past age and as detailed by the ancients in their various texts. And I will show how Sitchin's theory of a large mass intruder body as being responsible for both is in fact unsound, and that the evidence points towards the mechanism identified by the ancients as the music of the spheres as being the true mechanism responsible for these changes. I will also present evidence of how this mechanism directly causes earthquakes, triggering them at precise points upon the surface of our planet or just under the surface, due to special patterns as are achieved in the heavens, and that these are of a highly exacting nature. And I will also reveal how scientists themselves of this present age have rediscovered the mechanics of this mechanism and actively use it to trigger nuclear weapons, which are themselves dependent upon the positions of the celestial bodies in the heavens, as incredible as that might seem. It is a highly classified science, and I will touch upon the modelling of it as well, as this explains also how we can get massive earth changes due to special conjunction patterns, and the music of the spheres again offers us a decisive, comprehensive explanation not only of the agitation of the bodies of the heavens, but also exotic effects that can occur when we reach the end of a given age and make a transition into a new world era. I present all of my theories and lay them out in terms of these sources, and I cite from the sources themselves so that all may see exactly where I am coming from, and you the viewers can judge my theories, and I welcome any comments on this. So I'll begin then with the theories of Zecharia Sitchin to see how he explains the asteroid belt and the general agitation of the heavens. The first book written by Zecharia Sitchin that essentially introduced the planet Nibiru to the wider world was called The 12th Planet, published in 1976, and it followed an in-depth examination by Sitchin of various cuneiform clay tablets that survived from the ancient civilizations of Sumer and Babylon. Sumer itself predated Babylon and arose circa 3800 BC. The civilization itself has indeed something of a mystery surrounding it, as it appeared to spring up from nowhere, already complete and possessing all the trappings of civilization itself. Now indeed, as Sitchin relates in his work, the Sumerians and the Babylonians considered that the knowledge they had was a gift to them from the gods. Be that as it may, it is not my intention though to go down that particular road in this present lecture. Suffice it to say the focus here will be upon specifically the knowledge as contained within the cuneiform texts, and what the Sumerians and Babylonians believed true regarding the ordering of the planets and various astronomical knowledge. In starting the analysis in his book, Sitchin begins by examining cylinder seal VA243 and denotes what looks to be between the heads of two of the characters to the left a picture of a star with a grouping of celestial bodies surrounding it. Sitchin interprets this seal to depict our solar system as it presently stands and as known to the Sumerians. Although the orbits of the bodies are not given to scale or shown in terms of their respective distances from the central sun, Sitchin believes that each correspond to the known celestial bodies within our solar system and do, critically, depict their proportional sizes with respect to one another. Now indeed, if one examines very carefully the cylinder seal, one can see that 5 of the objects in orbit around the star appear to be significantly larger than the others. 2 of these objects Sitchin identifies as being Jupiter and Saturn. They are the objects directly to the left and lower left of the star. To the lower right of the star, Sitchin identifies 2 other objects as being Uranus and Neptune. Taken together then, these 4 objects are known bodies with respect to our current solar system. However, towards the top left, there is one further object of note which is on comparable size to Uranus and Neptune, that Sitchin identifies as another large mass object within our solar system. Now this indeed is most curious. To modern astronomers, there are only 4 large mass bodies within the solar system: Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. They do not admit to the existence of another, and yet the Babylonians would appear to. Assuming the latter are right, then how did they account for the existence of such a body? In the evaluation of their texts, Sitchin was able to reconstruct what he believed to be the epic of creation as outlined by the Sumerians and Babylonians, as to exactly how the solar system itself was created and of how it went through various evolutionary transformations, so to speak, to achieve its present state. According to his analysis, in an earlier phase of the development of the solar system, neither the Earth nor the asteroid belt existed, and the planets and their ordering about the Sun was quite different compared to the present. In examination of figure 105, one can see then the state of the solar system prior to the creation of the Earth and the asteroid belt. Though the planets as depicted are not shown in terms of their true orbital distances from the Sun, the general ordering can be seen, starting out from Mercury to the right of the Sun and going anti-clockwise. In noting the absence of the Earth between Venus and Mars, one may also note the presence of a planet called Tiamat between Mars and Jupiter, and this in place of the asteroid belt, which had not yet come into being. Further to this, one may also note that Pluto is seemingly out of place. Indeed, Sitchin theorizes that at this point in the solar system's development, Pluto was a moon of Saturn. Now indeed, according to Sitchin's reconstruction of the Babylonian epic of creation, the narrative that he develops allows one to understand how both the Earth and also the asteroid belt came into existence, and of how the solar system, as detailed in figure 105, was transformed in order to accommodate these changes. Now Sitchin's reading of the texts appears to indicate that the configuration of the solar system itself became unstable at this point, and the planets became agitated. They banded together too close to one another, and one planet in particular that was most affected and at risk by this was the planet Tiamat, and there is a key passage within the cuneiform texts that Sitchin cites that alludes to this very point.
Again, guys, all of this stuff is on the message like board. You can always go to it. This I talked about on my last blog. This one looks like it's got like some sort of piping that's coming up. But look at the we're going to come in close on this moon. Have you ever seen a moon like that? What?
The reference here is to the erratic orbits of the planets as newly formed, and Tiamat in particular is most disturbed by the orbits of the other planets, which seem to be banded together too close, as Sitchin relates in his book The 12th Planet. Now, as a result of this, Apsu, which is the Sun, decides to take drastic action to calm things down, and he plots to wreck the orbits of the planets themselves within the solar system. But the planets, or the gods as they are portrayed, get wind of Apsu's plot and decide to counter it, and one god in particular, Neptune, pours sleep over Apsu to rob the Sun of its powers, specifically to take away the power of the Sun to create new planetary bodies. From this moment on, with the Sun robbed of its powers in this manner, all new planetary bodies that can become a part of the solar system must now enter in from outside and not be created as a result of the Sun's
I'm
power
thinking this
itself.
might be a neutron star, and I'm going to get more in depth in regards to that, and then we're going to end this one with a little information about Bell Technology and John Titor.
The next great act in the evolution of the solar system following the removal of the Sun's power to create new celestial bodies was the introduction of a new body
Nazis
from without.
had a project called Project Kronos, and it was Bell Technology. Basically what they were trying to do was try to learn how to do time travel. And as I took a look, I went to look at the designs of the Kronos project of the Bell Technology, and I saw this image, and I tell you guys, this is what's really shocking. Take a look at this. this looks like the splitting image of that bell. But here's something wild. Could this be a ship right here in front of it or in back of it? Let's take another look at it. That looks just like the bell. It looks like a ship there. Here's another shot of it. Take a look at that. Here's what I think of the bell, and I think there's a ship behind it. It looks quite similar, doesn't it? Let's see if I can get a... There we go. Does that look... That looks pretty similar in shape and design. Let's take a look at this one here. Hell, that really does look very similar, guys.
From a region known as the Deep, which Sitchin interprets simply to mean...
And then I took a shot of the
space,
star as it came out, as it was
the solar
tracking
system.
across the sky.
The new body
And
in
why I
question
believe
was
that this is a
called
neutron
Marduk,
star is
and its entry into the solar system was most unusual, and it was highly disruptive with respect to the orbits of the bodies already established within. Indeed, it would appear that Marduk had a certain destiny which would lead it into a violent collision with the body Tiamat. Examining figure 106 as taken from the 12th planet, one can see Marduk's entry into the solar system. Its original path is deflected due to the influence of the other bodies, most notably the 4 outer gas giants. The names given are those known to the Babylonians and Sumerians, but to us they are Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus and Neptune. As Marduk passes close to each of the 4 gas giants, they are gravitationally perturbed and suffer some agitation in their orbits, but there is no direct contact as such. However, as Marduk enters deeper into the solar system, contact with Tiamat does occur. Prior to this, though, there is a great gravitational disturbance with respect to Tiamat, such that prior to contact, various parts of the planet break off to form new satellites. Now indeed, upon this very point, Tiamat not only creates a multitude of small satellites, Tiamat also creates a particularly large one that is assigned the name Kingu, as identified by Sitchin, and this particular satellite accompanies Tiamat as its primary satellite as the planet essentially goes into battle with Marduk for a head-on collision.
What is being shot, and of course this famous photo here, if you're a first-time viewer, you will know this is one of the shots that I took of this particular comet, which I now think is a ship of some sort. Also remember, 32 Degrees of Insanity.
If one examines figure 107 from Sitchin's book The 12th Planet, one can see that he depicts the encounter as nothing less than a celestial battle, one that takes place between 2 powerful gods within the solar system. But it is an encounter that Tiamat loses, ultimately being cleaved in 2, and this action is what leads to the creation of both the asteroid belt and the Earth itself. Now, in careful consideration of Sitchin's diagram, one can see that the Earth itself is deflected inwards in its orbit and ultimately comes to rest in a roughly circular orbit in between Venus and Mars as we know it today, coalescing into a smooth spheroid after its initial collision with Marduk. Further to this, the body Kingu, as created by Tiamat previously, now establishes itself as the Earth's primary satellite, the moon that we know today. One further effect of Marduk's passage into the solar system is to dislodge Pluto from its current orbit about Saturn. As a result of this, it is forced into a new orbit well beyond Neptune, the orbit familiar to astronomers of this present age. And as for Marduk itself, the large mass intruder body, it swings around the sun and leaves the solar system to head back out into the deep. However, as a result of its interaction with the bodies of the solar system, it essentially becomes a captured planet about the sun, establishing itself, according to Sitchin, in a highly eccentric orbit with a period of some 3,600 years. Now Sitchin's reading of the Babylonian texts indicates that the planet Marduk takes up Station Nibiru, having constructed the stations or orbits of the other planets.
Atlanteum, Episode 51, Nazi Time Machine. Adolf Hitler and his elite Nazi SS assembled the brightest and best scientific minds on the planet. In the years between 1939 and 1945, the SS developed superweapons like the world had never seen. Jet-powered fighters, the V-1, the V-2 rocket, and possibly anti-gravitic craft known as Vril discs. Allied soldiers reported seeing strange flying discs flying over the German countryside. Recently, SS documents have surfaced that revealed an extraordinarily expensive project that dwarfed all others. Project Kronos was its code name, named after the Greek god of time. The beautifully rendered image of Die Glocke, or the bell, by designer and author Jules Perdana is impressive considering that the device was virtually unknown until just recently. The bell was the top secret of the top secret and said to be the single most expensive research project ever undertaken by the Nazi SS. The project was headed up by a high-level SS general named Jacob Sporenberg. He is the only reason the world knows of this strange project, which has only come to light in recent years. The project was developed and maintained in a laboratory built deep in a mountainside in northern Germany. General Sporenberg was tried in Poland after the war for killing 60 top Nazi scientists that had worked on the project. It seems that whatever the Third Reich was trying to achieve warranted killing all the researchers and burying them in a mass grave in order to keep the secrets of the Die Glocke from the Allies. The true purpose of the bell may never be known, but by piecing together information revealed by General Sporenberg and other eyewitnesses, a picture may be emerging. The device was said to contain 2 counter-rotating cylinders and made a buzzing sound when in operation. The cylinders contained a form of mercury that had a violet color called Cerium-525. When the cylinders were spun at high speeds, the bell emitted high levels of radiation that killed 2 scientists and a number of plants that were in the lab. It appeared that the plants died of old age, and concrete pilings nearby crumbled and fell apart. The project required huge quantities of electricity and was connected to its own power station above ground. It is speculated that the spinning motion and electromagnets generated a powerful gravity field or torsion vortex. But what kind of weapon could possibly be derived from such a device? The ultimate weapon of war, time travel. Hitler and the SS traveled the world looking for ancient artifacts that contained long-lost technological information. The occult of the SS itself was an organization dedicated to the concept that pure root German race was a direct descendant of ancient Atlanteans. All of this comes into focus when you bring in the lucid accounts of Major John Titor. Nothing is more controversial than John Titor, but many of the things he said, regardless of who he really was, makes a lot of sense. John Titor is a major stationed at the MacDill Air Force Base in Tampa, Florida, and his unit uses a device built by GE that allows him to time travel. He came to our time in November of 2000 from the future date of 2036. He began posting conversations on the internet in various chat rooms and was very open about his reasons for being here and his mission. The world in his timeline was very different from ours. A world war and subsequent U.S. Civil War in 2015 had taken a very deep toll on his time. He was sent back to 1975 to get an IBM computer that was only produced in small quantities. The IBM could translate basic programming code that was desperately needed in his time. Titor described in great detail his future and how time travel worked. He said in 2000 that the CERN Hadron Collider, which had not been built at the time, would discover microsingularities. This is spooky because now, all these years later, CERN scientists are debating whether their research will produce small black holes or microsingularities. Mr. Teeter says his GE time machine produced 2 microsingularities that are counterspun at extreme speeds by injecting a stream of electrons at the event horizon. The stream of electrons can be varied, producing maximum or minimum gravity. A black hole would have the equivalent weight of a mountain range. This weight produces intense gravity and distorts the fabric of space-time. Major Teeter was asked if he could change things while he was here. He said he could change things in our timeline, but it would have no effect on his own timeline. The paradox theory was out the window. He could kill his grandfather in our timeline, but his grandfather would still be alive in his own. He actually visited his childhood home in Tampa and saw himself as an 8-year-old boy. His mother came to the door when he knocked, and she immediately recognized him. He stayed with them while he waited on a window of opportunity to return to his own timeline. Presumably, that 8-year-old John Teeter is out there somewhere now, a young man. But it doesn't mean he will go on to time travel. He may become a dentist in this timeline. Were the Nazi SS trying to build a time machine that would allow them to move around in time? Did they recover ancient information that gave them inspiration to build the bell? In the Atlantean Continuum, the answer is yes. It is highly likely, based on a number of emerging stories and discoveries, that the SS wanted to time travel. They assumed that they could alter or change their history into their favor. Major John Teeter from the year 2036 says it would not work. They could have won the war in another time, but not in their own. And we all know how that turned out. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Atlanteum. I'm Rock Hatfield.
Here is the shot. Try and keep it as steady as I can. Let's see here. There it is. That's the best shot right there. Oop. Stabilizer. Alright, let's take some shots of it. Alright guys and gals, I'm shooting it here. This is the star. It's getting bigger. I just took some stills of it that are quite incredible, but I want to do a little bit of scanning on this. We're all asking what the coordinates are of this. It is directly above me. Basically, if I'm standing up, it's right above my head, pretty much. I mean, I've got the telescope pretty much cocked all the way to the top, so it's up there. All right, I'm going to scan it up a little bit and see if we can get a closer shot. Okay, I took some shots of it here in regards to what we were just viewing, and I enhanced them a little bit, and it does look like a wormhole of some sort, something that opens and closes almost like the Rancor, or whatever they call it, the Sarlacc pit in Return of the Jedi. But this is the thing that I thought was quite interesting. As this was opening, you can see something that actually is jetting out of it. Could that be a ship of some sort jetting out? And then this one looks like it's actually open. It looks like some sort of Stargate, a wormhole. And then this was a shot that it changed. It looked like almost like a heart of some sort, guys. I mean, it looks. You can see the valves right there. This looks like an actual heart. And then I closed out with that one is the infamous. So there's got to be several things within there. I'm not sure what it is, but I tell you, a lot of things are going on in there, and this actually looks like a large ship with a big glass there as well. Could it have something to do with the bell, guys? I'm not quite sure, but time travel, I'm sure, has a lot to do with what's going on and the events that are taking place here in the world. Just remember 32 Degrees of Insanity on Tuesdays and Wednesday nights. You can like our Facebook page. Just go to the Show Me information below, and you can get a direct link to every single thing that we put onto our websites. Also, I just wanted to close out with one thing. As I showed you what was going on with the actual moon, this was an enhanced picture of that thing in the beginning I was talking to you about. Look at it, guys. It's a cube.
Right. Further to this, the body Kingu, as created by Tiamat previously, now establishes itself as the Earth's primary satellite, the moon that we know today. One further effect of Marduk's passage into the solar system is to dislodge Pluto from its current orbit about Saturn. As a result of this, it is forced into a new orbit well beyond Neptune, the orbit familiar to astronomers of this present age. And as for Marduk itself, the large mass intruder body, it swings around the Sun and leaves the solar system to head back out into the deep. However, as a result of its interaction with the bodies of the solar system, it essentially becomes a captured planet about the Sun, establishing itself, according to Sitchin, in a highly eccentric orbit with a period of some 3,600 years. Now Sitchin's reading of the Babylonian texts indicates that the planet Marduk takes up Station Nibiru, having constructed the stations or orbits of the other planets, now different as a result of Marduk's passing. And this indeed explains why the planet is known also to the Sumerians as Nibiru, as well as Marduk. The presentation just given has been a faithful narrative of the theories of Zecharia Sitchin, taken primarily from his book The 12th Planet, where it was detailed how the asteroid belt and also the Earth came into being, and of how a large mass intruder body entered into our solar system from without and agitated the planets, or the gods as they are called in myth. It was also shown how certain key passages within the Sumerian and Babylonian texts were used by Sitchin to infer the existence of this large mass body that the Sumerians called Nibiru, and of how this object came into the solar system and established itself in a highly eccentric cometary type orbit, possessing an orbital period of some 3,600 years. Now, in light of the theories of Zecharia Sitchin, I would like to state my contention here and now that I believe he is completely wrong on all points. I believe he is wrong about how the asteroid belt came into existence, and also the Earth, and I do not believe that the evidence he presents is strong enough to warrant the existence of a large mass intruder body entering into our solar system to disrupt the orbits of the planets already within, as the ancients themselves detail. Now, whilst I accept that there is truth to the issue, and truth that the planets at some point in the past were indeed disturbed en masse within our solar system, as the ancients detail in their various texts, I do not accept that this was caused by a large mass intruder body sweeping in and crudely disturbing them through gravitational perturbations. I think there is a far more elegant mechanism in place within the solar system that can account for the general agitation of all the bodies within without recourse to an intruder body possessing a large mass coming in on a cometary type orbit. And it is for this reason that I believe Nibiru as a planetary body does not even exist. To understand the mechanism by which earthquakes are triggered, it is necessary for me here to reveal some of the classified science underlying nuclear weapons, as detailed in my own book, The Lost Stage of High Knowledge. For in grasping the manner in which these devices work and how they are triggered, one is able to comprehend the underlying physics of how earthquakes are generated. Now, the Earth, as a rotating body in space, is inherently endowed with a set of natural energetic waveforms has continually radiate away from the body and propagate outwards into space. And indeed, this is true of all celestial bodies. Each rain down their signature frequencies and harmonies upon all others, and receive all in turn, and this is the very basis of the music of the spheres. Now a nuclear weapon, as a device, is built to interact with specific harmonic configurations as converge upon key points upon the earth due to the natural movements of the heavenly bodies, and to interact with certain key celestial waveforms through resonance to achieve a destructive effect. In my book, The Lost Age of High Knowledge, in explaining nuclear weapons as devices based upon the high science of the Lost Age, I also note certain ancient structures such as the Great Pyramid and Stonehenge, and produce evidence that they were carefully sited globally to interact with the natural energetic sounds of the earth. Now in the course of my research, I have looked very carefully at the work of Christopher Dunn, who wrote the book The Giza Power Plant, which presented evidence to suggest that the primary pyramid on the Giza complex, the Great Pyramid, was in fact built as an actual power plant, capable of drawing off energy from the earth. Now I myself do indeed completely concur with this. I do indeed believe that the Great Pyramid was built specifically as a means to tap into the energetic signature frequencies of the earth, and this through resonance. One of the key relations that I present in my book with reference to the Great Pyramid is that the arc length distance from the equator up to the latitude of the pyramid itself, in terms of the very apex of the structure, is in fact almost dead on 14,400 times the base length of the structure, which is 756 feet. The relation itself is very exacting, with a very small margin of error. Now this integrates the pyramid into the earth itself, because when one considers the earth as a rotating body with an axis of spin, the equator of the earth is thus the natural amplitude marker, so a very precise offset from the equator to a certain arc latitude, either north or southwards, and then integrating the base dimension of the structure into that arc in a harmonious way, indicates that the builders of the pyramid were seeking to achieve a harmonic fit as would be of energetic significance. Now the Great Pyramid was built specifically to draw off energy from the earth itself via resonance, and this was achieved due to the fact that the baseline dimension had a harmonic integral fit to the arc length displacement or distance from the equator of the earth to the latitude of the Great Pyramid itself. Now all objects within nature possess a unique natural frequency, which is determined by the key dimensions of the object, and also, most fundamentally, the electrical manifestation of the object, which ultimately is the fundamental rate at which the object exists in time. Now indeed, all objects are susceptible to resonant interaction, and thus if one has a target object possessed of certain key dimensions that is impinged upon by an energetic waveform from without, then if the wavelength of that energetic waveform is a harmonic integral fit to the key dimensions of the target object, that is to say, the wavelength will fit in mathematically a precise number of times, then what essentially happens under those conditions is that there is an internal reflection of the wavelength and the energetic waveform within the target object, which causes a series of standing wave patterns of excited amplitude. Now this causes the target object to physically go into a state of extreme agitation, depending upon the power and amplitude of the wave itself that impinges upon it. In certain circumstances, the power of the waveform so generated within the object can cause catastrophic failure, in which case the object will physically break apart. Now when one considers the Great Pyramid as a structure, it was built in order to be excited through movement in order to tap into the energetic signatures naturally that play out over the surface of the Earth. A small measure of energy was input into the structure to set it in motion to achieve a harmonic fit, but by doing so it tapped into a large store of energy that surrounds the Earth. When one does this, one has to very carefully control the process and withdrawal of the energy for a useful purpose. If ever there is a situation where you have a runaway effect that you cannot control, that is, where the Great Pyramid cannot contain the forces that it has tapped into, then the massive earth energies will swarm into the structure and cause it to catastrophically fail, i.e. they will destroy the Great Pyramid, because the interaction via resonance could not be controlled. Now, as the Great Pyramid is an actual device that has been purposely built in order to safely withdraw power from the Earth as a celestial body, the aim of avoiding a runaway catastrophic failure and feedback into the device is critical. However, with nuclear weapons it is quite the opposite. In the case of these devices, the whole point is to deliberately engineer the runaway effect. A nuclear weapon is not able to achieve a massive explosion on its own, but has to tap into the massive store of energy of the Earth itself in conjunction with the resonant energetic waveforms that are propagated by other bodies and which converge upon the Earth at certain key points. In order to understand how nuclear weapons function with respect to the music of the spheres, one must understand something about the Babylonian and Sumerian system of mathematics, which we generally refer to today as the base 60 system, which forms the origin of angular measure itself. Now, by convention, we split up the circle into 360 equal parts for the purposes of angular measure, each part being a degree unit. Further to this, each degree is further split up into 60 even more refined units called minutes of arc, and each minute of arc is again subdivided into 60 more units, even further more acute angles, which are called seconds of arc. These units are the primary basis for angular measure as employed today in the sciences. But critically, these unit measures of degrees, minutes and seconds of arc are not just abstract angular measures, but the key secret to understanding them is that they can be employed to derive arc length distance measures to form true units that possess real physical significance. Now, in my book, and also on my website, I provided proof that the Earth once had 360 days, and also that the Earth, when possessed of 360 days, had an equatorial circumference of precisely 21,600 ideal geographical miles, and one ideal geographical mile is precisely 6,000 feet in length, each foot being a standard British foot. The truth of the matter is, imperial measures, as we use them today, primarily in the UK and also the United States, are in fact based upon the pulsation rate of the Earth's orbit, which is the number of days per year. The proof of this can be seen when one considers how the expansion of the Earth's physical equator appears to be tied in to the expansion or change to the Earth's tropical year from 360 days to its current value. The mathematical relation that proves this is as follows.